What's going on there, Twitch and YouTube world? Thank you for dropping into Holosites TV. And I'm excited to bring you another one, another series of Loadouts How to Win Games. Don't forget, if you stopped by my last video, to give it a sub and like. But this is time to kind of expand on some of our thoughts when it comes to the recent updates. And if you're curious on my thoughts, because maybe you haven't seen the video yet, make sure y'all jump on over on the other side there and check things out. I'd really appreciate it. But more importantly, thanks for stopping in. We're not going to waste any time. We're going to get straight into the meat and potatoes. First, we're going to talk about my recommendations, why I build what I build. Then I'll give you my overall assessment of the weapons. What general attachments I think you are going to find the most value in. And then, of course, we'll round it off with kind of a tier list of the limb meta. Let's go ahead and dive in. First things first, when it comes to loadout, if you are on the sniper train, Kestrel is king. Now, there is a bit of a bug right now that a lot of players have been voicing concerns over, and I'm here to honestly defend it. Say it's not the sniper rifle, it is the optics. The devs have decided to go ahead and make some changes to the optics themselves. By default, the sniper rifles now will zoom in to a 3x, and then anything beyond that will need to be in attachments. So anything like a Gen 2, the mini reflex, the mid range, so on and so on, if it does not give you something X, it by default will be 3x. Now, once you move into the next category, obviously that leaves us with 4x and beyond. The 4 to 6x is next, and then we have the just standard 4x, which is really just a more zoomed in version of the 3x. Our fan favorite 4 to 8 has now been turned into a 6 to 8, and so on and so on. Truthfully, my recommendations is that you use the reflex sight. There's a lot of you, like I said, who are worried about this ADS issue where you seem to be like 1 inch off of your target. And I suspect two things. A, that there is a bug, but B, you're also trying to ADS while there is essentially inertia. You're still moving as a character. The weapons themselves have added weight. That's something they explained in the patch notes, and that the sniper rifles and LMGs in particular were going to be the heaviest weight options in the game. So, with that being said, the reflex sight will allow you to, in my opinion, combat issues. I think if you throw on something like the adaptive stock, you're going to be able to combat some of those sway disadvantages and be really reactive, really flicky. And I think this will help you have a really good sniper experience. You're already aiming basically with a 3x while using the reflex sight. So if you're comfortable with a red dot on your screen, you love those hollow sights, that's going to be my recommendation. Now, if you have to have a sight, because I get it, there's nothing better than a quick scope and sending your opponent to the ground. I do think that the 2 to 4 is probably going to be second best option for you. Or, it might be debatable by some that the 4x is great, but I've never been a fan of this sight ever since I've changed it. Bring back the original 3x sight. If you want to make it a 4x, fine, just bring back the sight. Or give us the same sight you have put on the Ichnya, because that thing is beautiful. Can we have the Ichnya sight, please? Please, off the grid. We appreciate it. Other than that, that is going to be my recommendation, is the Kestrel Reflex Sight. We're going to pair that with the Kestrel Heavy Barrel, the Kestrel Adaptive Stock, and the Compact Mag. Why? The adaptive stock is going to help us out with our ADS time. This is going to help really ensure we can get in there and make the quickest shot possible and combat the sway. There's about a 15% boost when it comes to this particular attachment. As you can see there, ADS time and sway are our benefits, and the hip fire spread is our only penalty. Now, ask yourself a question. How often are you trying to hip fire with the Kestrel? Probably not often, which makes that an optimal attachment right out the gate. pair that with the reflex sight, as I said to you earlier, to give yourself a nice clean 3x option. And we're gonna, of course, we're always going to use the heavy barrel because we want that added distance. We want to reduce the bullet drop. We want to be able to ensure that if our target gets a little bit far from us, that our bullet hits it's like a truck, right? As the bullet continues to travel or there starts to be bullet drop, you're going to see a reduction in damage. So, that's the reason I'm going to recommend the heavy barrel. The adaptive barrel is a fantastic weapon, but it does come with some pretty drastic recoil penalties. You get a small little dip in both vertical and horizontal. But I think for most of the veteran players of the game, we're usually quick scoping, right? Quick scoping, no scoping, something along those lines. Or what I call the flick hard scope. Like it's a you're hard scoping, but at the end of the day, you're probably flicking to the target. So recoil doesn't really matter for a single shot weapon. If you are looking to have the quickest draw, you are the quickest in the West, you are cowboy. I do recommend the adaptive barrel, probably my number 2 recommendation. The other barrel option we have is the lightweight barrel. Now, the lightweight barrel is going to carry a trend, and I'll talk about this as we kind of go over some of the other gun builds, and it gives you a 20% headshot multiplier. Now, in my testing, which I spent about 4 hours across 2 days testing for everyone, I actually did not notice a difference using the lightweight barrel. I just didn't. It's either one shot to the dome, you get that full flat 300 damage, or it takes 2 to finish your target. So I don't really see any reason or advantageous reason to want to put on a lightweight barrel. Which, to be honest, the only solution here is you got to find a way to. I want to say this because Kestrel feels fantastic. Nerf, nerf it a smidge. So that way, that 20% serves a better purpose. I also want to say that it's beautiful to know that the devs have kind of put snipers in a good place, and I'll expand on that after I talk about why we use the Kestrel Compact Mag. This thing is badass. Long story short, we are going to reduce our ADS time by nearly 25%. That means if you are quick scoping and you maybe crack your target, you getting next shot off as quickly as humanly possible is important. Now, if you are running double Kestrel, I don't think the compact mag is going to have as much value. In which case, I would just go ahead and throw on probably either the silencer for the Kestrel or the suppressor if you have enough points left. But I'll be honest with you, the penalty is cost when it comes to using the noise suppressor. So you may not have as many creative options because of its cost. But as you can see with the build I have now, if the compact mag costs me 20, you will have enough to put on the muzzle. So that's my recommendation. If you don't want to run the compact mag, run this bad boy right here. And that will go ahead and round out your build. But I like to get a second shot off as quickly as possible because many times I am taking these shots in pursuit of my target, and I want to usually get a follow-up shot after I crack them. Or in many other situations, I want to be able to just land that initial shot no matter how many shots it takes. The sooner the better, so I can switch to my sidearm and finish what I started. Now, before I move on, you know what? I'm going to save that. I was going to make a public service announcement about my feelings on sniping, but let's finish the loadout and we'll get to that at the end. Kochi's going to be the best, no questions asked, number 2 other than your primary weapon. In terms of sidearms, Kochi is the king right now. The ability to not need to reload or run around the map looking for ammo is priceless. You can't buy this kind of level of convenience. There are better options in terms of kill time in the SMG category, i.e. the Woodpecker or even potentially the AZV, but the Kochi just is so convenient, feels so good to use. And like I said, let's imagine that the circle's closing in. You're down to that last 6, 7 players. You guys are duking it out. You're all good. They're movement demons. You're a movement demon. ammo is going to get depleted. And the last thing you want to do is find yourself in a situation you have to run away and start opening boxes. The only time that ever should be something to do is when you run out of plates. So it's one less thing to worry about. It's convenience that you can't buy. Coachy, 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 coachy. Now, this is where I do kind of get to a very important point, and it's reducing the cost of your loadouts. I think this is a very big pain point in the game right now, and the solution is downgrading. It is, folks. No more purple, all purple setups. I mean, if you want, I'll give you an example. You want an 8.7K loadout, as you can see on my troll setup right here, then run all purple. But you're going to spend probably the first 5 or 6 minutes of the game trying to get your money right. And that might not be fun with a faster circle, better elite AI aimbot bots added to the game, and just really skilled player base overall, right? And there's nothing worse than getting your loadout, dying, and then having to resave up those funds all over again. It's going to take you anywhere from 2 to 3 contracts while opening a large surplus of cases for you to get that 8.7K. And I'd say on average, you're looking at anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 loadouts if you continue to run a lot of the purple kits. So when it comes to the coaching, all we need is 2 things. And honestly, folks, today's video, the reason I'm focusing so much yapping on this particular kit is because when I get into the SMGs and the ARs and whatnot, there's only really 2 attachments I think right now that are gonna make a difference for you. And it is going to be the barrel and the drums, like it always has been. More ammo equal win. And in addition to that, we want to get some extra distance, right? Get some extra range out of the weapon. So, of course, the heavy barrel. And that's all you need. All you need. This is going to take our gun cost down in contrast to a 2400, i.e., the Kestrel, to a 1150. Now, let's talk about the limbs. I'm going to use Slam Fist as an example because obviously it's the greatest limb in the game right now, or if not, probably the most dominant limb in the game right now. But if we take a look from blue to purple, here we are side by side, you're going to notice there's about a 25 or a 0.25 difference in the limbs themselves. So we can see that we have 250 limb durability and a 24-second cooldown time into a 275 and a 22-second cooldown time. So we're literally talking about a 2-second differential and a 25 health difference. And for what? When we look at the cost, it's $750 to call it in versus the $1,250 to call it in, right? It's pretty much a no-brainer. So if you are frustrated with dealing with these high cost loadout scenarios, the solution is to downgrade to the blue limbs. That is the new meta. So when we look at things holistically, the full cost of this particular kit is $6,325, which is a lot better than having to run around for 5 to 6 minutes and gather that 8, 9, $10,000 loadout together, especially if you're going to die and get taken out of the game really early. So that about wraps up my just overall general loadout or my first loadout rather. But I want you to use this formula as a baseline for the rest of the game. Clam fists are the best mobility limb in the game right now. I'd recommend that for most players. Otherwise, I'm going to recommend that you use the hook shot. If you're looking to want to get into that damage category, there are probably great options. Skunk Paul's really broken right now, but I'm not going to recommend that. I don't want to teach people bad habits or teach you to be a scummy human being because I think people who use Skunk Paul are scummy. I also think Maxi Gun is in the scummy category, so I'm not going to recommend that for you either. Ripper is in a fantastic spot, probably better than it's ever been, so double up on that limb if you really want to get some crazy action. 2-time Ripper is back, baby. And there's nothing better than turning the tide, turning somebody into a chicken nugget. And we'll talk about that more in the limbs section. So I run double Slam Fist. with the Cyber Lancers. Cyber Lancers, hands down, are the best legs in the game. You get damage, you get mobility, best of both worlds. Now, when it comes to one other option to your long range build, so I have one as an example that I use with the reflex sight, and then I do have one that I often use with the 2.5, or well, it used to be the 2.5. Now it's the 4, the 6x sight. So that is why I have two sniper builds. But there is a bug affecting the sights right now, and I think a lot of players have been voicing concerns and frustrations about it. So again, I recommend using the reflex. Don't sit around whining about it. They know about it. They told you they're looking into it. Let's leave it at that. And in the meantime, use the reflex sight. I'm personally not switching away from the reflex sight. And then we have the woodpecker as a fantastic secondary. All I need on this thing is the silencer, the drum mag. Boom. Throw a reflex on sight on there because it's my favorite, and call it a day. Cheap, effective. Right? Notice that that is also green. Keeping the cost down is priority. Notice the limbs, all blues. Keeping the cost down is priority. Total loadout cost, $300. With that being said, I'm going to go on a quick rant, and then I'm just going to get into some facts that I have found out throughout my research and studies, if you will, and we'll go over the limbs to close things out. I know I have harped on this topic for a very long time, so folks, please bear with me, and I really want you to know that I'm coming from as objective place that I could possibly come from. I have never been and never will be. I I am not pro aim assist, but I am not anti aim assist. I have felt many times throughout history of the game that it is way overtuned. It's statistically proven throughout every title we've had in the last 5 to 7 years. Whether it's COD, whether it's Fortnite, whether it's Apex Legends, every single pro player is on controller. The majority of high performance is on controller. The higher statistically performing average player base is on controller. And it isn't because people spent hours improving at the game, it's because it's doing 60% of the job for you. That means you have literally scientifically proven beyond human reaction time advantages in all close quarter exchanges. Now, that's not a rant. It's me saying you get your advantage. So, therefore, devs, thank you. Thank you so much for giving me back my advantage. Sniping is one of the core things for mouse and keyboard players, and that is what makes playing on M and K great. And when sniping was not in a good place, it felt like we didn't have any tools to really help us thrive in what we do best. Mouse and keyboard, hands down, will be the king of long range engagements. But we have to work our ass off in those close range engagements. So now that the Kesty is in an absolutely goated spot again, it has been a blast to play the game. What I'm saying is, off the grid team, do not touch the Kestrel. Leave it exactly the way it is. I also think that you need to fix the Piercer so that way it's not just a one sniper meta, because the Piercer 1 week ago was absolutely fantastic. Whatever you did, revert that for that weapon, and snipers will be in a great place. Whew. Rant over. When it comes to the assault rifles, they are also going to be great from a medium range perspective. And I honestly think that they're perfect. They're not overpowered with the aim assist for the controllers, and they're not overpowered with the aim skill or so called full arm advantages of mouse and keyboard. They come at a cost or a trade off. Do I want high damage or do I want higher fire rate? And the devs have finally nailed a formula, in my opinion, to kind of iron out What does your play style cater to? For a long time, the M4 had reigned king. It was the top dog for way, way too long, patch over patch over patch. Now, in my opinion, in my testing, I'm going to put the Vulture, the Partisan, on top. Second place is going to go to the Mavinga and then the M4. So let's talk about it. In my testing, I spent 4 hours trying to figure out where the SMGs and where the assault rifles lie. In the AR category, it's about 1 second for a full clip of headshots. For a full set of body shots, it's going to take 1.2, 1.3 seconds. Pretty good spot. So, with that being said, think about looking at other people's stats on TRN or on the OTG companion app. You will see majority of the shots are always placed in the midsection in the chest. So, with the kill time being the way it is, that I think it's great. I think it's perfect. And all of them, it's not one or the other is faster. They are all in that range. You're either on the 1.1 side or you're on the 1.3 side. Not a lot of in between. Now, there are some small outliers to this. For example, I have had some testing, specifically all headshots, where the Vulture is able to get as quick as zero point 0.9. The Casper is able to get as quick as zero point 0.9. Now, these are all headshots. The Casper is the quickest killing assault rifle in this entire lineup. However, it comes with the drawback of not being a really user friendly gun overall because of its burst pattern. And when things are at a far enough range or distance, it just honestly, the performance completely drops off the cliff. If you want to turn 180 and two tap someone in the forehead, Casper's got your back. So, with that being said, I'm going to go over the vultures that work for me. I personally am a huge fan of this month's Battle Pass vulture, the upgrade path. So, you don't have to worry about doing any attachments or changing anything. So, if you join, get your premium, get your pro. If you think that's worth it, you get a gun that's worth it. The Solana still in a great spot, feels a little bit bouncy to me. I think the Pink Fury is also in a great spot, but just know you will no longer have the big advantages of the faster fire rate it used to offer to you. Same thing can be said with CyberGoth. They each have their pros and cons. A lot of it has to do with either accuracy or reload time, but they pretty much feel the same. Now, if you are going to build your premium vulture, if you will, I'm going to recommend the following attachment. First and foremost is going to be a drum mag. Always going to say this at every single gun that I build: more bullet equal win. Now, if for some reason you don't want to do that, then I would either just leave the basic mag or go with the compact mag. There's two ways to build the guns right now: fast and reactive. So you want to stack things like the compact mag, which gives you faster ADS time and faster reload time, with other attachments that give you faster ADS time and faster reload time. This will give you that really quick, snappy, quick to the draw experience that maybe you were looking for from the M4 in its prime. If you want something that's going to kind of be all reliable, it's a good all rounder, that's where you can kind of get away with having the basic and then choosing what type of attachments work for you. Me, I'm always going to be Team Drum Mag. I don't really see penalties being a major drawback for me. The second important thing that I think is going to be beneficial is probably going to, of course, be the noise suppressor. Muzzle velocity is always a big win. Fall off range is always a huge win. We want to do as much damage from the same range or distance humanly possible. No need to change that. Last but not least is going to be heavy barrel. For me, I like to have that fall off range or that muzzle velocity. Now, I gave the lightweight barrel a little bit of a heartache when it came to the Kestrel, and that's just because it's usually one shot or two shot. When it comes to the AR, we all know that our bullets can be placed anywhere. You might be hitting them in the arms, you might be hitting them in the chest. Some of those bullets will hit them in the head. And that is where you're going to kind of see the most value for the lightweight barrel. So, hey, Hollow, what do you use? I like to use the heavy barrel. So this honestly, to be completely frank with you, rounds out my build. If I wanted to, I could add one of these other foregrips, try and maybe offset some of the recoil, but I haven't really found any issues or struggles with the recoil. So I rather save money. It's already expensive enough out here in this current meta that off the grid has changed things into. So shave off every dollar that you possibly can. And that's going to pretty much round out my vulture build. If I'm using a sidearm variant of the vulture, so again, we're stressing savings, right? I always recommend folks just stick to the green for maximum savings. If you want to find a good in between, you can do a blue one. Okay. Um, but I rather just go with the green. Okay. And then we're gonna throw on quite literally two attachments, right? I'm either gonna do mag with the muzzle, or I'm going to do barrel muzzle. Same exact ones that I had told you before, but focus on saving as much cost as you possibly can. Now, I want to give you the answer to why I'm saying that. There are zero, other than the lightweight barrel, there are zero attachments that increase the damage of the weapon. Again, there are zero attachments that increase the damage of the weapon. What does that mean? The way the game is focused on right now is how it feels to the user. Are you struggling with the recoil? Well, go into the shooting range. Do you feel like the gun is pulling to the left? You need to work on your horizontal recoil. Do you feel like it's pulling up? You need to work on your vertical recoil. Most people have played enough games that recoil is not that drastic. And to be honest with you, the recoil and off the grid isn't that bad. And if the game is being played on controller, you're already getting a helping hand. So I don't think there's a high value in recoil based attachments. Find the gun that fits your play style and adjust to it. Because I already gave you a baseline average 1.2 to 1.3. That's all of the every single. Okay. So with that being said, I think the Vulture right now does take the number one spot for me, and it does come down to its bullet damage. I like to hit the headshots, get that headshot multiplier rolling, and I don't need a lot of bullets to do it. If we look at what used to be the king, right, our M4, for example, we'll see a much faster fire rate, but a drastic fall off in the damage. So it comes kind of at a trade off. And that's why there's literally a 0.1 second difference between how quick the target goes down. I think you feel where I'm coming from. Now, if I were to give a tier rating list, and I did this live on my stream, so make sure you check that out if you want to kind of get into the nitty and gritty, but I don't want this video to be like 2 hours long. Vulture is going to take the number one spot for me. I think the Partisan takes the number two spot for me. The Mavinga is going to take the number three spot, and the M4 will take the fourth spot. And the Terracon and Casper will be tied for fifth place, as in hashtag do not recommend. Now, ironically, even though I gave you that particular order in recommendation, the fastest kill time of all of the assault rifles via headshot is actually the Casper. Following that up is going to be the Partisan, then the Vulture, and then I want to say is I think the Mavinga and the M4 were literally dead even, and then you had the Terracon. And you can kind of get an idea of where that comes from as you look at the fire rate to damage. So that is where I land when it comes to ARs. When it comes to SMGs, all of them are fantastic, except, in my opinion, and I know this is going to ruffle some feathers, the kite. Thank God. I'm so tired of seeing a gun stay on top, and they dethroned the two kings, M4 and the kite. What's weird is the devs decided, hey, let's go ahead and take the AZV profile and let's take the kite profile and swap them. I'm not sure whose idea that was, but it honestly doesn't make any sense. But that's my analogy for everybody in terms of how the guns play and how the guns feel. Let me give you the kill time order based on my statistics. And again, if you want to see how I got those numbers, make sure you dive onto twitch.tv/holosites.tv and it will have all the deets. Now, first, Woodpecker is king. This is as fast as zero point 0.9 seconds. Absolutely eviscerate your targets and get you a guaranteed shield crack by the time the clip is empty. The next fastest kill time is going to actually be the Tacoma. Don't let that 40 damage fool you because that fire rate is still insane. The gun is still incredibly easy to use and it kills in about a second. The only thing I would recommend over it is pretty much exactly identical in kill time and potentially a little bit easier to use is the Kochi. And last but not least will be the AZV. AZV is a fantastic gun. If you do hit the headshots, it's about 1 second and is very, very user friendly. If you're looking for something that kind of makes you reminisce of the old kite, then I would just use, like I said, they swapped them. So I'm going to recommend that you you use AZV if you were a fan of the kite previously. The kite now is last place in terms of kill time. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. The kite is very much like the Casper, where if we want to get technical, it goes woodpecker. Kite is actually in second place, and then it goes Tacoma and Kochi. But the problem with the kite is your target is not going to be standing still. When we do these testings, we're shooting training dummies that are standing completely still. Once you miss one burst of that magazine, your rhythm can be absolutely screwed, and then you're stuck shooting body shots. The higher kill time that put the kite in second place was based on headshots. So you got to remember, what can I aim with more consistently? And for me, or the answer that I think is going to address that question, Tacoma or the Kochi. And that is why kite is in fifth place in terms of my recommendation list. Oh, it is correction there. I think I said it was the Tacoma, but the kite was in our live testings. The Kochi is going to be the best SMG, period. Right now, the way the game is played, I think having to reload is kind of a pain. It will definitely get you killed. It's much easier to focus on repositioning and taking cover. And by the time you've done that, the Kochi will be completely cooled down and ready to rock again. You don't have to worry about running around the map looking for pistol ammo in order to be ready to rock again. So this is why automatically, if I were to give like a tier list of recommend, let me give you my recommendation list. Kochi number one, hands down. Woodpecker is going to take the number two spot. Tied for the number three spot is going to be AZV and Tacoma. They both feel great. They both kill in virtually identical times. That's pretty much all I got for you. I don't recommend fully kitting any of the SMGs out right now. I would slap on a drum because more bullet equal win, and I would either slap on a barrel, right, if you want to get some more effective range, or I'd probably would recommend a muzzle that is going to do the same thing, right? If we can, whatever is going to help you shoot your targets at a longer distance, nothing, like you honestly can't go wrong with the compressor. It's the best attachment. So again, barrel, mag, muzzle, mag, every time. I only run the green ones right now for the sake of cost savings. Would not run SMG primary, and if you do, um, just run Kochi, run double Kochi if you need to, and that's kind of where we're at, like in the meta right now. When we talk about runner-ups or like secondary recommendations, the Hawk cleanup crew or just any of the Hawks in general right now are going to treat you kindly. Kind of reminds me of the devotion for Apex players out there who might have been a big fan of that game. The gun kind of ramps up as you continue to hold it down, but so does the recoil. So something to think about if you're able to really control that weapon and track your targets at the same time. Well, guess what? The Hawk, in my opinion, might even be better than most of assault rifles right The initial, like it's a one-on-one situation, I'm gonna choose an AR every single time. But you know what? If I got like multiple targets and they're not necessarily immediately going to be engaging me, like maybe I'm rolling up and I got a third party some shit, the Hawk definitely going to be my go-to weapon. Any of the pre-build variants, that the game is going to provide to you, I fully recommend. Do I have a build for it right now? I'll be honest with you, I don't. But I would kind of follow that same formula that I had with the assault rifles, right? We more bullet equal more wins. So adding another drum on there could be advantageous to you. Definitely adding the noise suppressors guaranteed advantageous to you, in a barrel of your choosing. Want to be quicker, more reactive? Go to the adaptive. If better from a long range perspective, go with the heavy. If you think for some reason you got to be able to slam people with headshots, right? We go with the lightweight. Um, the stocks are always going to be a really great option, especially for a gun like this, because like I said, that recoil starts to ramp up along with the RPMs. So if got to take these weapons into the shooting range and see how they feel for you. Don't just do, like my older videos. Something, I've had to talk about with a lot of players is I don't want to just give you a cookie cutter build. I want to make sure that you understand how the attachments affect the gun. You can go into the range and feel out, right? Again, is it going left? Is it going right? Is it going up? Is it going down? What do you the gun to do? Does it take too long? Don't forget to reload. That's a really big one. Reload time on a gun like this is going to be ferocious. Movement speed on a gun like this is going to be ferocious. Devs told you LMGs and snipers were the heaviest guns in the game. That means things like weapon sway and ADS time are going to have some severe penalties. Consider your attachments and how they can mitigate some of the penalties you have from choosing a weapon. Me personally, I just run the pre-builds. When it comes to the Hawk, and I choose. When it comes to the shotguns, I only recommend right now the Squall and the Flenser. Truthfully, the Squall has actually been kind of a blast to use. This is my like little weird experimental build. I just slap a choke on there and a mag, and I go crazy. The Flenser is a great gun. Honestly, you don't really even need to put like I wouldn't even try and put too much on it other than maybe like a sight and a choke. You don't need a lot to trick these weapons out. They're sidearms. They're not meant to be your primaries. You can use them with like arc shields and stuff like that, and kind of cheese that security, right? Get people to run in and get in your face, or cheese stack it with something, right? Play a skunk paw around that shotgun, or your road runners or something, or your mirror breakers, right? Get the pumping. The influencer right now, devs, I'll be honest with you, trash. Don't hashtag do not recommend. That there's something wrong with this weapon. I have multiple clips of me point blank shooting a target. It seems like if you're somehow like side strafing or moving left and right while trying to use the influencer, the bullets just like curve around the target or something. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. And then like randomly you get a point blank dead on like headshot. The weapon feels great. So very inconsistent. Flenser, highest damage, two tap a person, but it's hard to catch people that close to you nowadays. And then you have the Squall. Truthfully, Woodpecker will dust most people trying to play around the shotgun right now because of how much damage and how quickly it does it. So that's just food for thought if you're a shotgun lover. Marksman rifles don't feel any different than they felt before. Proton is not great like it used to be. If you can keep on your targets, it's a great gun. But I do not have a build recommendation for you at this time. Follow, heed my words that fill the gun out and change based on how it feels. The Ichnia, same exact thing. Now, I do want to call out devs, whatever the hell the site is that you put on Ichnia, it is godly. It is amazing. Please give us that reticle. Please put that on the 4X. Put whatever is on the Ichnia on the sniper rifle 4X. We will love you forever because it is clean, it is responsive, and it is user friendly. That trash that you have right now with the little circle and the little squares on the side, awful, hate it. Never liked it, and I know myself and many other players in the community have always said before that the original 3X was the best sight you had in the game. So make the 4X great again. Now it's a 4, right? Sniper rifle. We already went over this, but I just want to just stress again: the Piercer is a fantastic gun. It feels amazing when the shots hit, but you'll notice as you move side to side and do a lot of like movement, the beam, it feels like when the Piercer very first came out, they, in my opinion, reverted it back to its original state. And I don't think that's the right way to balance out the snipers right now. You can't have one sniper that's reigning king, because the Kestrel is leaps, bounds, jumps, and backflips ahead of both other sniper rifle options. The Piercer 1 week ago, in my opinion, may have even, depending on the player, edged out the Kestrel. It just came down to a skill thing. Did you know how to use it? And if you didn't, you were choosing the Kestrel. If you did, you were probably choosing the Piercer. The Osprey, it's trash. Hashtag do not recommend. Devs, I guess, make the Osprey great again. Moving on to the last category, and it's going to be pistols. And folks, I'm going to just keep it real with you. We're not even going to waste our breath. Save some time on the video. The current issue of tackling loadout cost right now is to not run a pistol. There's no incentive at all whatsoever to run a pistol in the game. If I were to give you a tier list, I'm going to say Kelowna is probably, I actually just look at it in reverse. Kelowna number 1, 227 number 2, Tap 9 number 3. And it just comes down to that fire rate to damage ratio. The Kelowna, as people are moving, grooving all over the place, being able to shoot more shots, advantageous. 227's kind of in that sweet spot, right? You go down from 18 to 12. You also get a little bit of damage or reduction there in the fire rate. So, it's good. Always going to be the 227, right? We all loved it. It reigned king for a long time. I just like the Kelowna a little bit more. And then the Tap 9, it just feels wonky. Kind of like the Casper, kind of like the Kite. They hit like a truck. You have to land every shot. And I think just with the skill level of most players, the amount of mobility the game has created, weapons like this aren't thriving in the current setting, with the exception of the Partisan and the Vulture. So that pretty much wraps it up. We're gonna get into the tier list for the limbs. I'm gonna kind of just recap what I'm personally running myself. In terms of arms, slam fist all day. If not, it's gonna be a hook shot for at least a minimum of one arm. The only other options I'm running in terms of like an alternative is either going to be bounce bomber, Phosphor Fury, Ripper, Skunk Paw. Everything else is kind of doo doo, but I'll go through the tier list here in a second. Me personally, double slam fist till I die. Cyber limbs, best legs in the game, hands down, no questions asked. I'm not even gonna like question it. If I were to choose something better than the Cyber Lancers, I'm gonna go with the Roadrunner. And then tied for that third place, doesn't really matter that much, is gonna be either Leapers or Mirror Breakers. And then we have Hammerheads, and then have thumpers. That's just my opinion. So let's get into the limbs. I'll give you either S plus, A plus, B plus. The lowest I believe is probably going to be, like I said, the limb meta is in a spot right now, so we'll breeze through that, wrap up the video, and day. So let's just go ahead. I'll choose limbs only. We'll talk about it and wrap things up. Bounce Bomber is going to go into the A tier category. It is a staple in the meta right now because of its ability to not only suck people off and do damage at the same time, but it pushes away the Skunk Paw, which is dominating the meta currently. And you are going to be having a lot of instances in the last circle, probably last 2, 3 circles, people wanting to abuse it. You're going to have a lot of the lesser experienced players abusing it. So use the bounce bombers and put yourself at an advantage instead of a disadvantage. Buzz killers are going to just, they're going to get a B plus, to be honest with you. They're only a B plus when you run two of them. Run one of them, they're, they can kind of be an annoyance. I don't think they're game breaking in any way. But the gold version of this limb is absolutely S plus plus S beyond S plus broken. So if you get the gold version, use it, but you're kind of being scummy if you decide to go that direction. Ghost is going to kind of go in that C tier right now. I don't really think it serves a big purpose in the game. If you want to be cheap, get someone off guard or hide on top of a building because sniping is pretty popular again. Well, use Ghost and be a nuisance. Hookshot's going to go in that A plus tier after the latest buff. A lot of speed and momentum now is built up immediately whenever you hookshot, which makes it being a really great tool to catch your opponents while they are in air running away from you. I would say Slam Fist is the best reactionary limb in terms of it'll get you in the air the quickest, but it will not get you in the fastest. That's where the hook shot's going to come into play. So what I mean by that is once you're in the air using the hook shot, you will be at a faster rate of speed, making catching your opponent a lot easier. Love it. Give a rating for that A plus, right? Javelina is just going to go B minus. Use it to get some shield cracks. Maybe your competitor is dumb enough to fly in a straight line, but it's no longer the homing missile that we know from the good old days. Um, it can be a nuisance, and I think when people aren't paying attention or you're able to third party a fight, it does serve a pretty high value. But overall, it's going to be the low end of the kinetic shield. A plus could be S tier. I think it depends on the player. To be completely honest with you, on the most skill based limb in the game, aside from Phosphor Fury and Arc Shield. So use it or lose it, right? We all know you know the drill, right? Sucks in a bunch of damage, sends it back to your opponent. Creates a really good window of recovery. Maybe in the air, you can't. Your health's really low. You're trying to regen it. You want to pull out your shield, cover yourself for that last couple seconds. Kinetic shield will be able to do that for you. Maxi gun, oh god, A plus, but you're kind of scummy if you use it. I'm not going to recommend it as like a primary limb, but it's kind of in that same category as the javelinas, just better. Whereas if people aren't paying attention and you're able to just roll up to a fight and beam people down, well, guess what? Now you get to like shred them, sane RPM of rounds headed their way. It is what it is. Paralyzer, this breaks my heart so much to say this. D. D tier limb. Used to be one of the best limbs in the game. If you are very accurate with it, I'll give you a raise to B minus. But depends on the player. The overall radius of the limb has been nerfed this week, so it kind of lost a tremendous amount of value. And I thought the limb in its original like state perfectly fine. I don't really agree with that nerf, but hey, it is what it is. Phosphor Fury, we're gonna give it an A, solid A. It could be an A plus if the user is super skilled. But it's kind of like the kinetic shield where skill based limb. Either you're really great at using it, or you're not. It's going to be a great opener, great shield cracker, and a lot of times just like if you're wanting to steal someone's loadout, you swoop in and land this on them. Pretty much guarantees you a kill. Like painkiller, we're gonna give that A tier limb. About a week ago was definitely A plus. If you decide to go and get the gold variants out of the loadout drops, absolutely S tier, out of its mind, broken. Um, but I think it's kind of like very situational. I haven't been finding as much value out of it unless people are stacking it or using a close quarters build. You're gonna see a lot of skunk paw users pairing up the painkiller. They like to do is kind of create that smoke screen, be a nuisance by having you choke to death while at the same time recovering themselves, or a down teammate, right? Smoke screen the teammate, let the painkiller do it, do help save their life. So, thought there you have it. Recon drone over nerfed, very similar to the paralyzer. I'm not going to give it the minus though, so it'll be a B tier limb. Radius is way too small, but because Skunk Paw is such a pinnacle in the meta right now, having something to help you identify your targets or at least see the target in the smoke and something that's within the vicinity will always hold value. Nothing wins games more than combination. So some could argue that it's perfectly nerfed, but me, I think it was slightly overdone. Ripper is A plus again, and I in particular will say double Ripper is absolute menace. There's a lot of people who've kind of fallen out of being playing against the Ripper. Takes a limb pretty much 100% of the time. If they aim for the head, you get to rip off their legs. And if they use double Ripper right now, if there's a player that is beyond your skill level, and you're trying to find a way to turn the tide. You got Flaw, you got Merc, somebody you got fucking Cola on your ass. You chop both their arms off. Guess what? That chicken nugget can't go up any ropes. That chicken nugget can't put any plates in. That chicken nugget's going to spend time trying to run away from you until they can go back to their limbs and recover the fight. It puts you at a tremendous advantage. Ugh, what a wonderful limb. I think Ripper is literally exactly where it should be. Skunk Paul, I'm gonna give it A plus. It technically is S tier in my opinion, but with this week's nerf, it finally got brought down just enough to not make it so annoying. But it is still an atrociously broken limb in the meta right now. So it's somewhere. It's in this weird gray zone of S to A plus tier. Slam Fist, 100% going to be the S plus plus ultimate limb of the game. Again, mobility reigns king. You need to have one at all times. You are not using hookshot, you need to be using slam fist. If you're not using slam fist, you need to be using hookshot. They are not damage limbs, they're mobility limbs. But they do kind of give you the slight little opportunity where if you need it, right? You got someone cracked, you're in a skirmish and they got like 3 health left. Slam fist might be all you need to help finish the job. But when it comes to trying to get to higher elevation, maybe your jetpack blows out on you and you need to get one more sniper shot off, Slam Fist will be able to give you that nice little reset. Stack it on top of a dash. It gives you some nice variety in how you're moving, either against or away from your opponents. Why it's the top limb. Slugger, I'm gonna put Slugger in the C tier. Not really a lot of value in it. It will be really annoying. I would use it if I scooped it up off the ground, but I am not going to voluntarily put that in my kit. Friendly reminder, if you have a Phosphor Fury or your friend running a Phosphor Fury, and put the Slugger on them and then put the Phosphor Fury on them, catch them on fire. And very similar to the Skunk Ball, right? They're slowed, trying to get out of this really annoying fire. It might net you a knock. If you're catching a team that has already been knocked, Slugger Phosphor is absolutely disgusting, will almost guaranteed secure you a kill and sometimes two. But honestly, I think the Skunk Paw being one limb that kind of does the same thing instead of two makes it, C tier. Trip Mines, C tier. There's not a lot of value in these anymore. You are going to find the occasional player trying to pair these with the bounce bombers. I just don't really see a lot of high value. Paralyzer still counters the trip bind. They're easy to spot. Um, just yeah, not a lot. Like you're never gonna see a lot of high usage good players on when it comes to the trip mine. C tier. Arc Shield, it's kind of a sleeper, but we are gonna put it in the A tier. The Arc Shield's gonna be great. I'm gonna give you some ideas of how you might be able to use this. Example one, Arc Shield. Let your opponent push into your Arc Shield. Skunk Paw, proceed to poke in and out and make them regret every decision of wanting to come in. And I like the brand that special move as the Dutch oven. You're welcome. Other than that, I think the Arc Shield's great for up against a building next to a doorway where you can plop it out and kind of be able to poke in and out and trade with things like woodpecker or shotgun and really just abuse having some type of safety to fall back to. It's like a better version of the kinetic shield when used effectively with your teammates, but you're the damage, right? Versus the kinetic shield being kind of a best of both worlds. But considering they're in the same tier as each other, I think the arc shield speaks for itself. So that is my recommendation or tier list for you folks. If you're curious what I'm using, it's going to be double slammy pretty much all the way through and through, unless I decide I want to throw in hookshot. Double Ripper is really, really fun. I do recommend that as well. If you want to be an absolute asshole because everybody else wants to be one, Start throwing skunk paws all over the place. But I hope that you have a little bit of like gentleman's code in you, and don't want to stoop to a low of lows. And honestly, if you're gonna stoop to a low of lows, then just go grab the gold loadout drops and put double buzz killer on and make everybody in the. With that being said, folks, let's recap some of the talked about in today's video. I gave you my perspective and opinion on some of the changes surrounding the weapons and gave you a bit of insight on some of the kits that have been working for me. We gave you the baseline general numbers when it comes to both SMGs and the assault rifles. We gave you not only the recommendation tier list, but we also gave you the time to kill tier list. Remember what I said, build the gun to how it feels you are using it in the test range. Our recommendations are always going to be the mag, the barrel, or the muzzle, and cycling some type of combination between those three when you're running budget weapons. Any of the high tier hawks or any of the high tier or seasonal versions of the vulture, for example, are going to treat you well. That will be my recommend terms of the category of assault rifles. And when it comes to the SMGs, I honestly think Kochi is king. Who wants to reload? Me. Close secondary to that is going to be the Woodpecker, but ultimately wrap it out with Kestrel king. We also gave you the scoop when it comes to the limbs, which ones we think are going to be in that S tier, A tier, B tier, and of course their plus and minuses throughout. And the leg meta was kind of generalized. Cap that, it's going to Cyberland today, Road second. Then everything else is kind of tied and put thumpers there. Bottom of the list. Fun strat though. Could have a teammate pretty much commit suicide, fly out the circle, turn around, and thumpers. Everybody is exploiting skunk paw, self revive. And don't tell them I told you that. The wrap, folks. I want to say thank you if you came by. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. And more importantly, peace, love, and happiness.